What is going on, you beautiful bastards? Welcome to Unnecessary Rambling. I'm Brandon Sylvia. Today, we are going to be ranking the games that came out in 2022 that I played. Going through and doing a ranking of like my top 50 or so games that I played in 2022. I did want to make a little bit of a caveat here where for me to include it on this tier maker ranking thing, I wanted to have at least played the game for like 3 hours or more. So I didn't want to have anything on here that I just dabbled with for 30, 45 minutes. There's a few games, a Game Pass game here or there that I played a little bit, but didn't click with me. So I jumped out of it. But for these games here on the list, I included stuff that I at least gave what I would consider somewhat of a fair shake. And the majority of the games on the list, which we'll go ahead and go to now here. Okay, as you can see here, these are the games we are going to be ranking. And the majority of these I actually did play through, finished. I thought about doing this like an award show format for the end of the year, going through and giving out different awards to different games for 2022. And I had a decent little list prepared, but the more I started to think about it, the more I realized that there was just a lot of stuff that ended up repeating itself over and over, popping in the list over and over, like, okay, best most underrated games of the year. That ends up being a lot of the same games that are like for best Game Pass game of the year, or so forth and so on. So a lot of this stuff just kind of ended up repeating itself, and felt like it wasn't doing a good job of looking back at the entire year, opposed to just looking back at a select few games from the year, which is, kind of the point of honoring something with awards, just giving out shit to your favorite stuff of the year. But I wanted to kind of look back at the year in totality to see what I played, and look back at it now and see how I feel about it with the year passing. Plus, I kind of feel like award shows and shit are better with like a podcast group of people bantering back and forth and trying to pick like the definitive award and all that. So I don't know. Hopefully this will work in the place of that. So I went through Game Informer's release schedule for 2022 and started at January, jotted down every game that I'd played from January to December, every game that I'd played for more than like 3 hours or so. So we'll go through and rank all of those games here today. And we'll quickly, go through this, do the rankings. I'm not going to belabor the point too much and dive into each game into full detail. Those are, more reserved for the what I'm playing videos. But yeah, let's go ahead and kick this. Oh, actually, before we do that, let me go in and give your guys' selection for game of the year some love real quick. Okay, so some community picks for GOTY 2022. I asked you guys to submit this on that hidden gems video that I made, or the most underrated games for 2022. And we have some selections here. Your Mistake, Sir went with Elden Ring for his game of the year for 2022. Mondane went with Horizon Forbidden West. Deeper State went with Elden Ring. Mahalia Florina went with Elden Ring. Dr. Gamer Ali went with Signalis. And then we had Dan Mall's top three being Scorn at number 1, Plague Tale Requiem at number 2, Immortality at number 3. And we have Locan Vias with the top 2, number 1 being Sifu, number 2 being Ragnarok. And then we have Madden Looney's genre separated games of the year, with his computer role-playing game of the year being Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, JRPG being Persona 5 on Xbox, first-person shooter being Modern Warfare 2, racing being F1 2022, strategy being Ravenous Devils, adventure being Plague Tale Requiem, action adventure being Evil West, simulation being FM23, action for Dying Light 2, action RPG Elden Ring, stealth Sniper Elite 5, roguelikes Vampire Survivor. So I appreciate the hell out of everybody for submitting their selections for their games of the year. So shout out to you guys. I greatly appreciate you submitting that stuff and contributing over here. I really want to figure out a way to do more of that stuff. I've been racking my brain. I have a few ideas where, I know we got a smaller community here, little less than like 200 subscribers, and then 100 or so people who watch the videos on a pretty regular basis. But even if we had some participation with like little different games and shit, of even if it's 5, 10 people participating, I think we could do some fun shit like that. So I'm gonna try to rack my brain. I have one decent idea that I want to include you guys on, and maybe potentially give out like some small cash prizes each month. But I'll get more into that and kind of go over it at a later date. I had something lined up for January, but that unfortunately ended up falling on its face. So hopefully sometime into the new year I can get that stuff rolling out, and we can have some more community driven interaction, because I find that shit so fun, like doing the podcasts and stuff like that, having different people come on. That's always way more enjoyable to me than sitting and rambling by myself. Not that but hey, I like to ramble. That's the whole idea of the channel. So I do not mind doing that either, and that is what we will be doing here today. Let me go ahead and get back to this screen share, and there we are. All right. So now let's go ahead and get into ranking the games that I played for 2022. And I thought about including an F tier in here, but I don't think there's enough games that I played, at least that I played for more than 3 hours or so, that I would give an F2. So we'll leave it S through D. You guys know the whole format. S being your top tier GOTY level games, and then your A's and B's, C's and D's. Like it's all pretty fucking standard. You get the point. I'm also going to rank these as we go. So like no, you're not just sitting at the S, A, B, C, D. You're ranked in those tiers as well. So we're going to have like our top 50 games of 2022 lined up here on this tier maker. No fucking around here. Where we're getting serious at the end of the year with our nice little tier maker here. So the I wanted to have the order where like it starts at January, and because how I listed, I went and for those of you who don't know how the tier maker thing works, you just go and take an image and then you put it into the tier maker's website, and then they kind of auto generate the order. So I had all the images from like January to December in order, but then it just kind of spits it out in any random order, which is fine. I don't mind that. Maybe add for a little bit more spontaneous sort of ranking or something like that. So let's go ahead and crack this thing off. They have Norco here as the first game that they listed, and played this on Game Pass, point and click adventure. Just a really unique story. I would say I'd probably go B tier for Norco. I think that's a great narrative. Simple, but a really great narrative. Gungrave Gore, I'd go we'll go C tier for now. Maybe have to slot that to the D tier. Only played a couple hours of it. Nothing really sticking there for me with the gameplay. I thought the cinematics were really compelling, and I just thought the story in general, this kind of mob boss storyline, was really cool. But the gameplay I felt was a little bit outdated, a lot outdated. Immortality, we will go B tier as well, but Immortality, I'm going to have to put it in over Norco, I think. Immortality was just like that shock factor of, holy shit, I cannot believe they just did what they just did. And the way that they get you, and the emotions and thought-provoking sort of context to this story is really, really wild, man. It is a roller coaster of a story. It's something that I'll never forget. I know people are kind of, FMV games aren't for some people. FMV games were never for me either. This is the first FMV game that I played, from start to finish, and enjoyed the entire ride. So if you're a horror fan, I would say try it out. Play it until you get to the twist, until you get to that moment that makes you go, holy shit, and you'll know the moment. Play it until you get there, and if after that you're not hooked, you're probably not going to be hooked in general. So I would say at least check it out if you're into horror. WWE 2K22. I will go. I'm going to go C tier for WWE 2K22. There's a solid foundation. The gameplay with WWE 2K22 is really, really good. The modes need a lot more work. Actually, this is fucking crazy. I don't know if you guys did your little PlayStation recap thing for the year. WWE 2K22 was my most played game of all of 2022. Put like 57 hours into the damn. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and I think I could still pull that up. Let's see. I'll try to go and share the little wrap up thing because I mean it's a end of the year sort of discussion in and of itself. Well, we'll talk about that real quick as it pertains to WWE 2K22 and just talk about this little end of the year wrap thing. Hold on, let me see if I can still log into it. Okay, so just a quick heads up. I'm having some internet issues, been having some really bad internet issues lately. So you'll probably see my screen where you actually see me. I'm probably ultra delayed right now, but the screen that I'm sharing here should be fine and you should be able to see all this with me here. So all right. We had the total hours played. Shit is ultra embarrassing. 789 total hours played. Does it have the games? Let's see. Okay, the games I don't think are in this one. But yeah, total hours played 789 for the year. 590 of those hours was with PS5 games, 199 with PS4, so 74.8% of the time on PS5 games. Hopefully that will be close to 100% by 2023 if we can get those damn next gen exclusive games flowing. Okay, and so now we have the top games list. In 2022, you played 74 games. Out of everything played, which were the games you couldn't get enough of? How did this compare to last year? Played 8 more games total, 12% more overall. So here we go. WWE 2K22, 57 hours logged, which I think, you see here like the total annual play time at 7%. I feel like just a kind of good overall. Yeah, I'm seeing my damn screen with how delayed I am talking there. It's apologize for that, guys. I'm trying to get that damn internet shit worked out, but 7%. And then we had fucking 2K22, NBA 2K22, 50 hours logged in at 6%. And when I first saw this, I was like, how in the hell is NBA 2K22? How did I play that damn much in 2022? But then I started thinking about it, I was like, well, I do a franchise mode like maybe uh probably every at least once a month. So if you're looking at like 3 hours there, and then the time you spend, I think I put like 10 hours into it online, and like I guess that that shit does start to add up there. And yeah, it's one of those games that I play for the entirety of the year, which is actually something that I can't say I did with WWE 2K22. I played it a lot for the first like couple months with the GM mode and the showcase and shit, but I did fall off of it. I don't really fall off of NBA all that often. I just love those franchise modes so much. The third game, Horizon Forbidden West, with 49 hours logged in. I feel like that's really low. I remember seeing my save around like the 60-hour mark, if I'm not mistaken. I could be a little bit off on that, but I feel like I played more than 49 hours of Horizon Forbidden West. But I loved the damn game, had an absolute blast with it. Elix 2, 44 hours into Elix 2, and Dying Light 2, 42 hours into that. So, I really loved Dying Light 2, loved Horizon Forbidden West, NBA 2K22 and WWE 2K22. I good games, but just kind of goes to show you that hours played doesn't necessarily equate to hours enjoyed. Yeah. So let's see here. Favorite genre of 2022: fighting games, 58 hours logged, 35 trophies earned. And I guess that's 35 trophies earned in the fighting genre. What genre? Oh, I guess God of War. Okay, they're saying God of War is the fighting genre. Okay. That's good enough there, I guess. I'm not a trophy hunter, but I guess we can look at all this shit while we're already here, and then we'll jump back into the other stuff. In 2022, you earned 806 new trophies. Keep scrolling to see a more detailed breakdown of your trophies and achievements for the year. How did this compare to last year? Holy shit, a 34% increase in trophies over last year. I I guess just because I played more games over, and I think it's the thing too, where it's a lot of bronze and shit as you see here. Like no, yeah, zero platinums all year. It's just not my thing. I don't really go for trophies at all. I just play the game, and I do typically, try to finish. Um, I try to finish the games that I'm into, but that typically only results into like a silver or gold trophy, and I don't usually go past that. But I just think the reason I got even that many trophies in general is just because I played like whatever fucking 70 games or whatnot. So it's not that hard to get whatever 10, 15 trophies per each game. And see your PlayStation Plus. What does that mean? I don't even see your and PS Plus granted access to 833 games. Yeah, I didn't really play. 8 hours spent playing online with multiplayer games with PS Plus. Yeah, 13 PlayStation Plus games added to your library. Nothing doing there for anything interesting. But yeah, that is my kind of year end wrap up for 2022 in the PlayStation ecosystem. And that's the thing that's so embarrassing out of all this shit is because that's not the total year. You know what I mean? Like I played some retro stuff. I played some Xbox. I played a lot on Xbox with Game Pass. Kirby, Bayonetta 3, and some games on the Switch that I played. So it's like I tweeted out New Year's resolution for 2023: get a fucking life. So yeah, that's about it. Gotta get a life in 2023. But it's like I don't know. Hey, you know, you do what you do. You go out there, you pay your bills, you do the shit you got to do to get by, and then if you spend 3 hours a night, 2 hours a night playing the damn video game, hey, if that helps you get to the next day like it does me, then I guess it is what it is. As long as we're being decently productive and getting through our day-to-day life, then who are we hurting, so that's kind of my end of the year wrap up for PlayStation there. Well, I'll make sure to include the timestamp down below, that way people aren't looking for this one specific ranking and then getting with the PlayStation shit, be like, get your ass back to the damn ranking. I'll get my ass back to the ranking right now. So back to the ranking we go. All right, let's let this video kind of load back up to get adjusted to real time here as you see me just spinning my damn running my mouth over there in the corner. Just a talking, still hasn't caught up. Is it caught up yet? Okay, hello. All right, we're good. Let's get this shit cracking back on. Proteus, day one Game Pass game, as we were just talking about there as well. Actually, look, this is fucking crazy. Speaking to that PlayStation year end wrap up, talking about the Xbox stuff as well, which I don't think Xbox does a year end thing. I would be interested in seeing that breakdown. But Immortality, Norco, Gungrave Gore, and Proteus, all games right here that I played on Xbox or with Game Pass. So Proteus, I would say C tier. Fun little Doom inspired first person, just old school shooter. Gory as all hell. Once again, bingo. As Dusk Falls, another Game Pass title. Finished this one, finished Proteus, finished Norco, finished Immortality. So like, that's a lot of damn time spent playing on Xbox. So I don't even want to know that damn number, man. As Dusk Falls, I'm going to go A tier for As Dusk Falls. This story is remarkable. It's so shocking how good it is. You see the visuals for As Dusk Falls and you're like, oh my God, that is brutal. But despite the visuals, you actually sit through it and finish the game because the story is just so damn good. Shadow Warrior 3, this was, I believe, like the last big PlayStation Now game. And it's fun. It's really fun. Flying Wild Hog, really prolific year with this and Evil West. Standout kind of studio for the year for 2022, in my opinion. At least one of them with Supermassive as well. And shout out got to go ahead and give a shout out to FromSoft. That's not my style of game at all. But talking about prolific developers, Elden Ring, which is widely considered the game of the year for 2022, and then already in the cooker, ready to release for 2023, or we suspect it will be releasing in 2023 with Armored Core, another fucking really prolific dev team. And speaking of that, Supermassive, very prolific dev team. The Devil in Me, this I would say for sure C tier. I love these games. The Devil in Me, I think, has some interesting mechanics, and I'm curious to see what they do building on those mechanics with the inventory, with the puzzle solving, with having a little bit more mobility with your character, but still some work to be done. Vampire Masquerade Swan Song, D tier. This shit frustrated the hell out of me. I played about 8 hours of it, and I really wanted to like it. I was hearing people compare it to Detroit Become Human and then the Quantic Dreams formula, but this was just a slog for me. They have like these weird character abilities and stuff and upgrades that just didn't seem to make any sense. The movement was sluggish, navigation was tedious. Yeah, nothing about this game really clicked with me. Character models looked awful, subtitles not popping up during the dialogue, different little dialogue bits chopping out, just yeah, not good at all. Bayonetta 3. I would go B tier for Bayonetta 3. Not my favorite. I think Bayonetta's just constantly been declining for me. The first one, when I played that, I played it for the first time last year, I believe, and loved it. Bayonetta 2, I liked quite a bit less than 1. Bayonetta 3, I liked maybe a little bit more than 2, but a lot less than 1 as well. So I thought the summoning was interesting. The kind of war, the monster style battles were cool, but as far as like a story to have any sort of cohesive narrative to follow along to, I just could not find that anywhere in the game. Mario Strikers. This is a weird one because I played it for 1 day, but I played it with buddies for like 6 hours straight 1 day. So it was like one really fun day of gaming. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing that stuck with me. I'll go C tier. Just fun. It's fun when you're with a group of friends, but it's kind of that thing, where people say, okay, did you have fun playing the game or did you have fun being with your friends? And that's the tough thing to figure out. For it, this is probably more I had fun hanging out with my buddies. We can have fun with any game we put into the damn system, any cool like little co-op game that adds something fun for us to kind of latch onto. And I think that was just the case with Mario Strikers. But we did play the ever loving shit out of it that one night, but we never went back to it. Elix 2. I would go. Damn, I should have put a freaking F category because Vampire Swan Song would be in the F category. Elix 2, I'm gonna put at the top of the D category. Oh, speaking of that, let's rearrange these things real quick. Top of the C category, I'd go WWE 2K22 above Gungrave Gore, Proteus above Gungrave Gore. Come on, scoot over. Shadow Warrior 3 for sure above Gungrave Gore. Okay, Gungrave Gore is going to be the bottom of the C tier, definitely. And I would move Devil in Me over Shadow Warrior 3, but I think this would probably be my ranking for the C tier. Proteus, then Devil in Me, then Shadow Warrior 3, then Mario, then Gungrave Gore. Gungrave Gore, I'm going to drop to the D tier. And it maybe not in that same level with those C tier games. Callisto Protocol. Okay. Callisto Protocol, I'm going at the top of the C tier. I had a lot of fun with this game despite its many quirks and interesting design choices. Having the camera just like glued to Isaac, what's his name? Jacob. Having the camera just glued to Jacob's back was a definitely an interesting choice. That is the epitome of over the shoulder. Holy shit. You are glued to this dude's back. You could smell the cologne that motherfucker put on his neck a month ago. It is like right up on him. And that makes it really cumbersome whenever you're encountering like 3 or more enemies. But it there's something fun about that visceral, gory, up close nature to the combat, and that the enemy's hitting you with a three swing combo, and you hit them with that left, right, left on the dodge stick, and you're bobbing and weaving like Prime Roy Jones. Like, that shit's kind of fun to me. It's interesting. And when you play so many games, just having little things that are new, I'm like a kid at the candy store. I'm like, oh shit, that's interesting. Let me try to figure this out. Because I remember back in the day, sixth generation especially, you were always playing games that just threw shit at the wall and saw what stuck. Like, I remember Obi-Wan, Star Wars Obi-Wan, totally a totally different take on how to perform combat, where you're using the thumbstick to do your slashes with your lightsaber. I was like, I love that idea. And nowadays, everything's pretty much standard fare, where circle is going to be your dodge. Well, not in Callisto. You're holding left or right. That's your dodge. Like, they do just little things that are different, and I can kind of appreciate the different take on survival horror and forcing you to get up close and personal with those enemies. Enemy mutations should have been improved. Enemy variety should have been improved. The technical performance on the PC and Series X should have definitely been improved. I didn't have a ton of those issues on PS5, but there were some weird things, like the audio logs not playing and shit, but I could still read the subtitles, and so it didn't bother me too bad. But there were weird things like that. Visuals, cinematics, top tier. I guess I'm going on about this because I haven't made the what I'm playing on it yet. So I'll save the rest of my thoughts for that. For sure, top of the C tier for me though. Not perfect, didn't live up to my expectations, but a fun game. Trek to Yomi, D tier. I will go. Okay, let's separate this D tier as well. We'll go Vampire, bottom of the D tier, Gungrave above. Yeah, Trek to Yomi. I think the art style alone puts it above Gungrave Gore for me. That art style is striking, man. It's got a visual flair to it. It just the actual gameplay just did not connect with me in any way, shape, or form. For the B tier, I think that is where I would have it. Norco above Bayonetta, Immortality at the top. So we'll kind of keep track of this as we go, and make sure I don't go too long without keeping this ranking organized. Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights, I'm going top of the D tier. Come on. Why are you not working? Top of the D tier. There we go. Gotham Knights is a game that has no real identity. And it's so unfortunate because it is a cool ass Gotham City, Gotham set piece. It's fun to like interact with the different characters in that world as the different characters that you're controlling, your Red Wings and your Red Hoods, your Nightwings, your Robins. Like, it's cool to be Batgirl and have a different response when you're talking about Commissioner Gordon, opposed to if you're Red Hood talking about Commissioner Gordon. Like, there's cool little details in the game that I found fun and interesting, but it's a real grindy ass video game, and it feels like it's trying to be a little bit of a live service, and then those elements got pulled out, and then it's trying to be a multiplayer game, and then that compromises the single player, and it's like everything is just at odds with one another, and it hurts the overall package, in my opinion. Kirby, I will go B tier. I'll go bottom of the B tier for Kirby. I have never played a Kirby game in my life. I played through this one and finished it and thought it was really fucking fun. Just, sucking up all these weird items, and you're using a cone to plug a water leak, and like it's just, sucking up the car and then becoming the car. Like, there's just so many fun as little gameplay mechanics that come from you as Kirby just sucking up shit in this world. And I was just surprised by how fun that little loop was, and the collectathon nature of everything. It was just a game that I was really surprised by how addicted to that loop I was. TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I will go below Proteus, Below the Devil in Me, above Shadow Warrior 3 in the C tier. 2 hours, 3 hours of fun. Nothing too nothing too spectacular, simple little beat 'em up, but fun enough for 2 or so hours, especially if you have a someone in your life who is a big old school TMNT, arcade fan. I think you can really get a lot out of Shredder's Revenge, especially if you're playing it in co-op. I didn't play it in co-op, and the little time I played with it, I enjoyed, but it wasn't anything that just. And I'm not like the biggest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan in the world, so take that into account as well. God of War Ragnarok, A tier. I would say, yeah, A tier. I wouldn't quite go S. I'd go A tier above As Dusk Falls, though. I'm not the biggest of God of War fans. I played the PlayStation 2 games, in 2005, starting with the first one, and uh, I played the mainline games, and I loved, or I really liked 2018's God of War. I like this one a little bit less than 2018's game, but there's no doubt that visually it's something else. The storytelling is incredible, a great payoff, and I'm down to see where they go going forward. Would I like to see Santa Monica do something else and get outside of God of War for a little bit? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely think that them spreading their wings would be to everyone's benefit, in my opinion. But still a really, really great video game. And the combat loop of God of War Ragnarok is so amazing. I loved the combat so much, and the different, like, using your blades of chaos to swing from one platform to the next, and then just smashing down on top of an enemy. And then that last weapon that you get towards the end of the game, the I won't spoil it, but man, that adds a totally different dynamic where you're swapping in and out of those three weapons on the fly. And it's just that, man, that combat loop is so fucking good. The story is so good. It's a really good game, despite the having a little bit of a pacing issue, and the puzzles galore, man. Puzzles galore. I got so bored of those puzzles. Valkyrie Elysium. I will go right above Vampire Swan Song. Valkyrie Elysium was just really boring to me. It wasn't bad, just wasn't really anything other than kind of standard hack and slash. No real, like, the little grapple mechanic was cool, where you could like pull yourself towards the enemies and stuff. There was some okay things. Like, I finished the game, but it I think if I would have quit playing it after 3 hours, I would have been like probably in the C tier. But the fact that I've finished this game is actually probably what hurts it the most, because the more you play, the less cool things you see. So I'm going to go D tier for me. And keep in mind, this is all a very subjective ranking. I'm not trying to say that these are, I'm one person on the internet talking about video games. I'm hoping to God that you watching this at home understand I'm not trying to tell you this is the subjective ranking of games that came out in 2022. That would be an insane thing for me to sit here and say. I would never try to imply that I have any objective analysis of games, because none of us do. Sifu, S tier. Sifu is an S tier video game. It's incredibly challenging, and usually, like I talked about earlier with Elden Ring, not my style of thing. That type of challenge just doesn't do it for me. But this Sifu style of challenge is almost old school, like NES style of challenge, in a way where it's not big, sprawling, and open ended. It's just about the pattern recognition of the boss, learning the moves, learning the perfect timing. It's all about those little details. And it's something that you can just sit down, and if you're clearly focused on getting to that next stage, you will be able to do so. But are you going to be able to do so within a appropriate age range? Because you don't want to end the first level at age 40. You don't want to end the second level at age 50. Like, you're trying to get, it's not only about getting to the next stage, it's about getting there as young as possible, so you can get to that final stage with as many lives to spare as you can possibly, use. And because that last battle is so damn challenging. And All the bosses are pretty challenging, but you can learn them. And that's the thing about those like old school NES games is it's like they're difficult, but you're going to end up learning those patterns eventually. It's the same kind of thing being thrown at you. Like there's I would say slightly more dynamic boss battles in Sifu than that. I don't want to understate it to that degree, but it is kind of a simple pattern recognition. I shouldn't say simple. It's challenging, but it is that pattern recognition format. And once you learn the patterns, you can get through it. And it's just it's so good. The art style is so good. The environments are so well designed. The weapon usage, the abilities, the upgrading, like it's just one of those loops that it's that thing where if this game was 30 hours, it probably wouldn't have been for me. I don't want to sit down and like be frustrated for 30 hours with a game, but can I sit down and be frustrated with a game for 10 hours and feel that sense of satisfaction and reward with it after I'm finished? Yeah, for sure. And Sifu absolutely delivered on that in spades. A Memoir Blue. This is I'm gonna go right above Vampire Swan Song. I finished a Memoir Blue because it's just an itty bitty game. It's uh, look, I'm not the most artsy fartsy kind of dude, as you see. I'm not the most articulate. I'm not the fucking look. I'm just not the target audience for this style of game. Sometimes, like you have your Norcos and your Immortalities that are obscure in nature, and they click with me. But like the I don't know, just the over reliance on emotionality or trying to get you in the feels. I, I don't know. It just doesn't usually resonate with me so much. I like, I'm open to shedding a tear over a video game. There's fucking Norco, got me to there were a couple moments where it's like that's definitely getting your waterworks going a little bit. There's a moment in As Dusk Falls that's really moving. Immortality actually, there's just the like almost shock of it can bring you to tears. There's games that I played in 2022 that definitely got me, and I'm honestly kind of an easy target for being emotional. But when it feels like I don't know, I don't want to be rude, but when it feels like you're trying to force that out of me and that's your only intention and not to really like deliver any interesting gameplay mechanics or anything substantial with the story other than the fact that it's going to make me sad, it just doesn't do it for me. But I can see how it works for other people. And these are story games are kind of all about the time and place in which you play them. Like there's one on here. Where is it at? Did I even fucking I hope it included it. Okay, yeah, it did. We'll go ahead and throw that on here because it's a perfect example. I'd say Ghostwire Tokyo. It is a game that was definitely a time and place game for me. I'm going to put it C tier above Shredder's Revenge. This the story I connected with so deeply with Ghostwire Tokyo because it was a perfect time, perfect place. I had went through some pretty like significant loss in my life, and this story was a lot about loss and acceptance and kind of that getting over that grief period. And it just hit me. It really hit me. The narrative hit me. I don't think the open world is exceptional. I don't think the combat is exceptional. I think it's fun. I think the aesthetic and the atmosphere of the open world is tremendous. I think the idea of the combat is awesome. It just isn't executed incredibly well, in my opinion. But the story is really what hooked me with Ghostwire Tokyo, and it got me emotional. Just it's kind of a time and place thing. So maybe a Memoir Blue just I don't remember when it came out, but maybe it was just a little bit too early or a little bit too late. Weird West. I played this for a few hours on Game Pass. It didn't do it for me. The top down kind of twin stick shootery first or immersive sim from your like ex Arcane developers, I believe. It look, there's cool things with all these immersive sims, but for whatever reason, this one just did not didn't do it for me. I can say though, I the time I spent with it, I'll put it above Valkyrie Elysium because there's just so much fun to be had in any of these immersive sim worlds. And this is a big ass game, Weird West. It's got a lot going on, like open world sections and just those fun things where you walk into a damn cave and they have like the little railways set up and like people alongside the tracks for the railway, and there's like the little trolley or whatever the fuck they call it on the train tracks, and then you load the trolley with dynamite, and then you send it down the train tracks. It's just blowing up people one after another. It's like those little fun things that are in immersive sims that you can't really get in other games. Like it's hard to replicate that, and I can just appreciate that level of freedom to allow you to kind of tackle combat in so many different ways. And even it has like dialogue choices and shit like that and a bunch of different characters that you get to play as throughout the game. It's no doubt a game that I can see being for a lot of people. It didn't really do it for me. Blacktail. I'm not going to include this one. I put this tier maker together before I began playing Blacktail because I figured I would play a lot of it, but I played it for about an hour and 30 minutes and bounced out of it. So I'm not going to include it in here. I will say though, it did not at all click with me, like in the slightest, but I'm not going to include it because I didn't play enough of it to include it. I don't think that's fair. Signalis. I'm going I'm going above Bayonetta, under Norco. Signalis is something else. It's another one. Put about 4 hours in, did not finish it. I am absolutely going to finish this game. I am betraying the old school survival horror roots in my soul. It's just I feel guilty for not finishing this damn game, but it is something else, man, to see this return, this renaissance to classic survival horror and the old school tank controls that are similar to Resident Evil with a little bit of that twin stick shooter vibe in Signalis as well. But just the narrative is so compelling, the movement is so good, the map is top tier. It's one of the best maps I've seen in video games in a long ass time. And yeah, it's one that I absolutely have to finish for sure. Out of any game that I haven't finished in 2022, that's the one that I feel the most guilty about. It's something truly special. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. I'm going to go right under Bayonetta, right above Kirby for Skywalker Saga. Just nostalgia 101, being able to play through those classic films and then play through the prequel and the sequel trilogy and like that's it's just, for one, similar to Kirby. I had never played a Lego game from front to back. So that was shocking as shit to see how detailed those worlds are and how big those worlds are. And like, once again, the collectible or the collectathon nature in those games as well. It's and also the fact that you're playing with these different characters. You're going from Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, and that's more of a lightsaber approach to combat, and then you get into playing as Han Solo, and it's more of a third person cover shooter, and there's so many different characters that you're allowed to go into these worlds and play as. And that was just really surprising to me that they were able to nail all those different forms of combat and movement. And yeah, for a Lego game, I was really blown away. I was blown away by how great the environment design was as well. A Plague Tale Requiem. Ooh, S tier, no doubt. Above or below Sifu? That is the question. I gotta go above Sifu. Look, it's the thing where this is just I was so invested in that first game story, and to see what they did with it was as ballsy of a choice that I've ever really seen with a narrative that is so dependent on. You know what? We'll leave it there. It's a ballsy ass ending. It's a ballsy ass game. It's a game all about, in my opinion, just this total unraveling that's going on in Amicia's mind, and her reliance on Hugo to like an unnatural level, trusting in this kid because of his unnatural gifts, and you've lost sight of like everything that is pragmatic and practical, and all of her thought processes in process how the fuck ever you say that, all of her thought processing in Plague Tale Innocence was so rooted in like, okay, we're going to make the best decision given the surrounding circumstances. We're going to do what we have to do to get by in the most practical way possible. And all of that is thrown out the window by the end of Innocence, and then into Requiem. It just gets worse and worse. And she's starting to totally come undone, and she becomes more violent, so the combat gets more brutal and more dynamic, and the stealth encounters towards the like the back half of that game become a lot less limited. There's so many different ways of tackling the stealth segments and getting through those with being a little bit more violent, a little bit more aggressive, and then having your upgrade system react to that, and and upgrade naturally based upon what you're doing in the game. Like, it's a very, very impressive sequel to see how far Asobo has expanded for this. And I imagine that they will they're probably going to get gobbled up sometime soon by your either Microsoft's or one of the big players out there. I would assume Microsoft with their connection with a flight sim and all that shit, but that's a talented fucking team to be able to pull off that, and a Plague Tale Requiem and Flight Sim. Like, that's truly a diverse ass studio. I'm sure there's different teams working on it and all that, but still, the fact that under one studio, under one umbrella, they can pull off two games that are that different, remarkable. Saints Row the reboot, I would go above Gotham Knights at the top of the D tier. I'm a sucker for this franchise. It's probably like my third favorite franchise in gaming history. I've played through all of them, and I played through Saints Row the reboot as well, despite how goddamn redundant and monotonous some of those missions were. Saw it through to its end. I like the open world of Santo Ileso. I thought some of the big like cinematic blow off moments in the story were cool. Didn't connect with the characters at all. Felt a lot of the missions were very repetitive, but hey, it's I was just happy to be back in a Saints Row world. That's not going to be enough to continue the series on with Volition. I believe they're now working under Gearbox. I could be wrong on that. I don't remember exactly what the news story was, but I think now Volition is kind of working in a support role to Gearbox, if I'm not mistaken. So you're looking at Volition kind of using their talents to assist on assumedly like Borderlands style projects, which I think that's unfortunate. I think that team does have a ton of potential, or at least the team from 2000 and what would that have been, 2006 or 7 with Saints Row 1, maybe even 2008 up to 2013, I believe, with Saints Row 4. I could be off a little bit on those dates, but that era of Saints Row, regardless of how you feel about 4, you can't deny that there was a ton of talent on that team, and I think there's even still quite a bit of talent with the way that they're able to design open worlds and the vehicles and the different modes of transportation in in the traversal in those worlds is kind of remarkable. But they need a lot of help on the shooting and kind of the melee side of things, and definitely with the character design at this point. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion. This is one I'm very fresh on. This did nothing for me. I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was expecting more of that style of combat, and it's really not. It's kind of got this like slot machine based system that I don't know, just feels sort of mobile-ish to me, and I don't mean to be that harsh on the game. I think that it's cool that this is out there and exists, but it's a lot more of a remaster than a full on remake. Like it's not of that same, it's not in that same caliber as Final Fantasy VII remake at all. Like the dialogue is weird. The writing's just not great. It's really choppy with like the long pauses in between character interactions and stuff. It's just not for me, but it's I'm sure that this is for a lot of other people. I'll just kind of keep playing the remakes and check out 16 and shit like that. I'll go once again. This is just a me thing, but I'll go under Elix 2, above Trek to Yomi. I put about 7 6 7 hours into it. I think I'm kind of checking out on it though. The chant, I really enjoyed the chant. I will let's see, definitely somewhere in the C tier. Let me decrease my screen here. All right, the chant, I would say C tier. I'm gonna go actually shit. Yeah, I'm gonna say the chant right up under the Callisto Protocol, right above WWE 2K22. I love that mechanic in the chant where if you spam B too much or if you spam circle too much, your character will like fall over. And so it creates like such an anxious, tension filled moment where usually, when you're dodging, you're spamming B over and over to dodge as quickly as possible. But in this, you have to be real precise and hit that hit circle at the right time to dodge at the perfect time. Because if you hit it twice, you're open to all of those attacks and you're totally vulnerable. I love just little mechanics like that in the chant. They have actually a lot of little cool mechanics with the makeshift weapons and the supernatural powers that they're trying to fuse into the gameplay loop. And yeah, I played through the whole thing. I liked it from beginning to end. A little bit of a pacing issue, like right at the back. I'd say like first 4 hours of the game, totally like great pacing. Back three or so, a little bit rough, but still overall had a great time with it. I like that just that theme of this cult horror title, trying to explore a little bit more of that, and like even diving into the financial side of how a cult is ran. Like shit like that is really cool while also being fused with the supernatural realm. Real cool game. All right, let's speed this up here. NBA 2K23. I would go once again, we're gonna go the C tier here. I'll actually go above the chant, below the Callisto Protocol. It could be that I'm just very fresh on this, but I was blown away by the inclusion, of course, of the Jordan mode and the Jordan challenges. Getting to play through the most iconic moments of Michael Jordan's career, really damn fun. But the franchise mode is just such a humongous improvement over any of the other 2K games in the past like decade or so. I have to give credit where it's due. I know this is a very iterative franchise that between iterations, it seems like they're doing less and less to actually iterate. This one is really a huge step forward for franchise mode players out there. While you're getting to go to those different eras, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and modern, like that's so crucial for people like me who love franchise modes. Your older fans out there, the people who aren't the whales, are very we're not often catered to. So the fact that we got a W on this one, I got to acknowledge the good when we get it. So I'm gonna go right up under the Callisto Protocol in the C tier. Tamisha, I had a fucking blast with this game. I I'm gonna go right above Shadow Warrior 3. This is one of the only Souls-like games that totally clicked with me. I didn't finish it because once again, I'm not the best at these style of games, just being totally honest. I got to the final boss and I need to I read and you need to go and kind of do a lot of the side questing to level up for that final boss. I didn't do much of the side questing, so I would need to go back and do that. I doubt I ever will, but got to the final boss, had a real good time with it. It doesn't have like the stamina meters, and that's really my thing more than anything with Souls games. Is just really into the I'm not really into the slower, more methodical combat. And Tamisha's like Devil May Cry quick. So that hooked me. But the aesthetic and everything is similar to Bloodborne, so that also hooked me. But yeah, it's I had fun with it for sure. High on Life. I just finished this one. This is the last game that I finished of recording this, and it's all about the humor, with High on Life. It's a game that's either going to click with you for that style of humor or it's not. I was very, very surprised by the fact that it's a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. I thought that Rick and Morty stuff, I thought it was a little bit more I didn't think it was so like nihilistic. Like this is a very, very dark game where enemies are like audibly cheering for you as you murder them. They're like happy to be slaughtered and shit. It's like, god damn, this is I'm into this. Like I like that sort of bleak humor where you're going up to a character and he's telling you talking about how he's too damn too timid to kill himself as he's sitting there fishing into a pond that has nothing for him to fish, and he's like, oh, I'm just working up the courage to drown myself. I like that style of humor, and there's a lot of there's also a lot of humor in there that's not really my speed, but i I don't know, overall this is probably, out of any game I've ever played, the most like laugh out loud moments that I've ever had. The humor really did click for me more often than not. Sure, by the back end of the game, is it a little bit, it, it wears itself thin a little bit by the back end of the game. I'll totally admit that. Like it's hard for that humor to continuously land for 10 hours straight, but for 6, 7 of those hours, I was laughing out loud quite a bit, and just little cool mechanics that make it actually somewhat fun to play, like getting a little jetpack towards the end of the game, constantly swapping up your different weapons that talk to you. I had fun with High on Life, man. I think I'm gonna go B tier. I'm gonna go right under. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give the nod to High on Life over Signalis just because I finished High on Life, and as impressive as Signalis was, like I feel I need to give some love to High on Life for connecting to me or compelling me to finish that game. And I don't think the payoff was all that satisfying. It ended a bit abruptly, but I was constantly just having fun in that world. And once again, when we're talking about, playing so many different games, you're just looking for something to separate itself. And High on Life is totally its own thing. It's something that you really can't compare to anything else, or at least anything that I've ever played. This is a very, very unique kind of a once in a generation style game where it's totally reliant on humor, and sometimes that doesn't work too well. But for me, it really, really did click with me. That it's a simple game, but it's a very, very funny ass video game. New Tales from the Borderlands. Talking about, damn, I didn't even notice that those two were together, but talking about humor that did not really land for me. New Tales from the Borderlands, I will go above Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, below Elix 2. It's just some of the humor in there was okay, but by and large, it was just like force fed down your throat. And so is High on Life, to be fair. High on Life, the humor is force fed down your throat, but I'm kind of like constantly laughing as they're force feeding that shit. Where with New Tales from the Borderlands, it didn't really get me in any meaningful way. I didn't laugh all that often with the game. Like the robot character was pretty damn funny, but the actual human characters, I uh, not many of them really did it for me. And once again, it's a game that's all about the humor and all about the decision making, which even that they did not nail at all. So it definitely didn't have that telltale Tales from the Borderlands pizzazz whatsoever. Stray, I will go Stray. I'm gonna go right below Proteus, right above The Devil in Me. The concept of Stray is, you know, the concept of Stray is so fresh. Getting to play as a cat, never really been done in a game before, at least not on this level. And they mirrored the movement and the interaction and how cats behave. Like they have that down to a science. I believe the oh man, the robot's the same name of the, is it B12 Studios or B2, whatever the name, it's a new developer. Incredible, incredible debut game. I believe this is their debut game, if I'm not mistaken. Really, really, they should be proud of themselves for what they pulled off with Stray. Great visuals, the little cityscapes that they built were stunning. Real solid game, simple game, but really solid. Let me plug my charger in real quick for my computer. All right, now on to Metal Hellsinger. Had a real bad like game breaking bug with Metal Hellsinger that totally ruined the experience for me. So I'm gonna put it in the D tier. I'm gonna go right above New Tales from the Borderlands though, because I played like 3-ish hours of it before it crashed out on me, and I thought it was really damn fun for those 3 hours. And the soundtrack is just so kicking. But the first person shooting is really solid, and I'm sure that by now the game breaking bug that I had where the world just kind of disappears up under you and you can't move, I feel like by now that's probably totally, totally patched out. Somerville. Somerville, absolutely the worst game of 2022 in my opinion. I hated this game. Like almost every moment I was playing it, I hated it other than when I wasn't playing it. When it was doing its storytelling stuff, totally into it. Loved the story. Well, I shouldn't say loved the story, but loved sitting there and not having to play the game. So anytime they were giving me narrative beats for Somerville, I was totally down because it was a moment where I didn't have to interact with that game and deal with the weirdest 3D spaces that I've ever seen in a game world, and the just total narrative dissonance between, like, I shouldn't even say narrative. Well, it is kind of a narrative dissonance. It's happening in gameplay, but like different times where my character's able to run and then out of nowhere not able to run, but not explaining why I'm not able to run. And just I the strangest little puzzles that made no sense, and just it had none of that inside limbo DNA there at all. Nothing that made those games special carried over to Somerville, in my opinion. Little Orpheus. I'll go I'll go bottom of C tier for Little Orpheus. This is a cute little, it was initially a mobile game, and it got ported to consoles this year to PlayStation 5 and all that. And I, I had a good time with it. It once again, crazy Somerville and Little Orpheus popping up right next to each other, because similar styles of game, which Little Orpheus pulls a lot more from your limbos and insides, but it's just like the easiest version of that ever. It's a nice little 2D space. All the puzzles are super simple. The visuals are stunning. Great use of color, and the it's just, if you want to play something like Inside Limbo but don't want to be frustrated, Little Orpheus is a great go-to. It's not nearly as good as Inside Limbo or Little Nightmares, but it's it's fun if you're wanting that itch scratched with a little bit more of a narrative connection to it. Midnight Fight Express. I will go, you know what? I'm going to go top of the C tier for Midnight Fight Express. I'm going to go over Callisto Protocol for Midnight Fight Express. Made by one guy initially, and just the fact that this was like a action movie come to life in this top-down brawler, and so much environmental and gameplay diversity throughout this game, it made for a really really enjoyable experience while you're upgrading your character, and you know equipping him with these different wrestling moves and different costumes and shit. It's yeah, it was a really really fun game. Ali Ali World. I didn't play enough of this. I probably put about 3 hours into Ali Ali World. One of probably one of the least played games on this list for me. I kind of want to put it, damn, there's a part of me that doesn't want to include it in here because I don't have as great of an opinion on the game. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna put that down here with Blacktail as well. I probably shouldn't have included Ollie Ollie World on this list, even though I probably played the 3 hours or so, the little uh, limit that I put on this list. I probably did put about 3 hours into it, but I don't know. I feel like I don't have a good enough opinion on Ollie Ollie World to really rank it. Neon White. I actually put about 4 hours into this in the last couple days. It just released on PlayStation 5. I will go, let's see. I'll go right above Mario. I'll go right below Mario for the C tier. I know a lot of people love Neon White. I think it's a fun game to play. I hate the way the narrative is laid out to you with kind of the visual novel sort of vibe there. It just totally did nothing for me at all. Um, the gameplay is fluid and fun. It's pretty simplistic. It's just kind of a time trial trying to get to the end of the level as quickly as possible. Has some, first person shooty vibes. You pick up these different cards and you get the ability that's given to you on the cards. I finished the 6 out of the 10 levels. So, I'm a little over halfway through it. I don't think that I'll go back to it probably. But it is no doubt fun, a great game to play while listening to a podcast, but I'm definitely not as hot on it as most people are. Nobody Saves the World. The just truly one of the most unique games that I've played in 2022. One of the most unique mechanics where you're able to switch on the fly between all these different damn characters. I'm going to zoom in here because okay, yeah, it does kind of clear up a little bit. All these different characters that you're seeing on the screen, you get to be all of them. Little slug, the little bodybuilder, the witch, the knight, the horse. Like you get to become all of these characters and switch between them on the fly. And like that is so fucking cool where they all have their own different ways how they move, their different abilities, their different combat. Like it's crazy that they were able to animate and able to have all these different actions that you're able to perform with these characters that you're swapping in and out of. It is really really remarkable. That's one of the more unique designs to gameplay that I've seen in 2022. Unfortunately, I played about 7-ish hours of it or so and didn't end up going back to it. It's not my style of game, just stylistically with that old school kind of NES visual aesthetic. And even some of the progression I found a little bit annoying with having to play a certain amount of, get to a certain level with each character before you could progress and stuff. Like some of that turned me off to Nobody Saves the World a little bit, but no doubt that one mechanic is so standout. So Nobody Saves the World. I think I'll go above Shredder's Revenge, right below Ghostwire Tokyo for Nobody Saves the World. Cyberpunk 2077 PS5 version. Only put about 10 hours into the PS5 version. Obviously, I played through it before it was totally patched and finished it. That I for sure am wishing now that I would have waited because holy shit, this PS5 version is incredible. This next gen version is immaculate. And the time that I spent with it, it was a totally different game. A totally different game. Like everything was improved. NPCs felt more lifelike. They're when I played it initially, like NPCs didn't even have faces. They're just totally like now they're living their own lives in this world. You walk up to them, they have their own little daily routines going on, and I just went off and did a bunch of side questing, fixed up the little roller coaster, rode the roller coaster, hung out with the monks, and just it is a great game. The core game of Cyberpunk is so great, and there's so many iconic quests in that game. But the next gen version just really makes it shine the way it always should have. I like I said, I only put about 10 hours so to put it in the A or S tier, I think would be a little bit disingenuous. I would like to play more of it, but for the time I put into it, it's definitely one of the like standout few hours that I've had with a game in 2022. So I'll put it right below Signalis there in the B tier. But no doubt, overall quality level, I'm sure once I finish it, and maybe we'll be talking about this again in 2023 if I play through it. In well, I guess it wouldn't necessarily qualify for 2023 because the PS5 version officially came out in 2022, but you get the point. It's a damn incredible game. I just unfortunately didn't finish it, which I think that I want to reserve that S and A tier for games that stuck with me, and games that are kind of representative of like my best of 2022 list that really captivated me to go through and kind of represent the year as a whole a little bit better. Which perfect timing. Evil West, abso freaking lutely in the top tier for me. I This is gonna sound crazy. I'm gonna go S tier for Evil West. For me personally, this is definitely at the top of my list for 2022. Personally just think this game is remarkable. I have very few complaints about it at all. It has a few technical shortcomings with like NPCs faces outside of like the cutscenes and shit, but the moment to moment gameplay in Evil West is so ridiculously satisfying. And there's no padding, there's no filler. You're the full 10 hours. It seems like every 20 minutes, new weapon, new environment, new, like it's something new to see, something new to do. You're constantly progressing with the upgrade paths and the skill trees in meaningful ways that allow combat to feel constantly different as you equip those upgrades and as you level up those guns. And by the end of the game, you're just so overpowered. And then you run into those overpowered bosses at the end of the game. And it's like this Clash of Titans moment where everything at a certain point became so easy. And then those final two bosses are super challenging. And it just feels so rewarding that progression system of like, oh damn, I'm overcoming everything with no problem. And then right there at the big final blow off, it's like, okay, I met my maker. It's time to put up or shut up with all these different abilities that I learned. And you really need to, like, it's a game where there's for sure a few key abilities and different powers that you can use and rely on, but it's a game that really rewards you for a diverse combat approach and going into gameplay and using as many of the different mechanics as possible, and all the fucking just the gory environmental kills, volleyball spiking an opponent into just this wall of spikes, and riding down the rails in that little trolley, and then shooting the canisters and blowing up the different paths that are blocking you so you can progress to the next section. And the cinematics are solid, the story is solid. Like, Evil West is a game that I just loved. I understand some people are like $60 for a 10-hour game, not my thing. I Look, I get that everybody's different. That type of thing doesn't bother me. Evil West, I'm gonna go right. Damn. Ooh, I don't know. Sifu Plague Tale Requiem, Evil West. This is my top three so far. There's no doubt about that. Where do they rank though? Okay, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. Plague Tale, Evil West, Sifu. Something doesn't feel right about that. I don't know. We'll address it later. Okay, Oxide Room 104. I'm gonna go C tier for this. I I'm gonna go above Nobody Saves the World and right below Ghostwire Tokyo. Oxide Room 104 is so cool. I just love the setting. The motel setting is so fun for survival horror. I feel like that's, at least in my memory, I haven't played a game that's central location is a motel, and I like it so much more than a hotel. I like having the outdoor environments and shit, and just like the little moment to moment decision making that you're doing in this game. That's kind of the progression. That's how you progress. It's like, okay, what should I do? How should I get to this next door? What should I use for this encounter to get to the next section? And it almost has like that Until Dawn vibe, but instead of making dialogue choices, you're solving puzzles on the fly by picking between, do I use this or that to progress. And I don't know, I just kind of liked it. It's a very simple survival horror game. Get through it in like 2-3 hours, but I had a damn good time with it. Dying Light 2. I Ooh, Dying Light 2. I'm going to go right below. See, now it's starting to get a lot more difficult because there's so many selections here, and trying to find the right slot for these games becomes really challenging. I'm going with right below Immortality, right above Norco, I think. Dying Light 2, it came out in February, and we did the little PlayStation recap. I put 40 plus hours into it, and I was kind of blown away by the story with Dying Light 2. Not in the fact that it's just totally incredible, but in the fact that compared to the first one, it's totally incredible. The first game, it was almost void of really any meaningful story content. And with Dying Light 2, like the choices that you make actually have kind of a serious effect on the game. Other than there's certain parts like with the windmills and allocating who's going to take over the city, and like that doesn't have as great of a narrative consequence as I wish it did. But it is cool to like, okay, I'm going to give you this access to the city, and then now you're going to allow me to have these little jump pads down below, or the little fucking air vents that push me up into the air and allow me to platform around easier and parkour around easier. And it's just, that's kind of the thing with Dying Light 2 that separates it from anything else, or Dying Light in general. Is just, it's the best parkour first person gameplay system that I've ever seen in a video game. They totally nail that. And speaking like with the Callisto Protocol earlier, that melee visceral, those melee visceral combat encounters, that's totally present in Dying Light as well. Maybe not as like challenging, but I mean, like I said, 40 plus hours with the game. Another one that's great for podcasting whenever you're, doing your like your windmill challenges or your puzzles and shit like that. Dying Light 2, I really did enjoy it quite a lot. Dolman, I didn't like this at all either. I'm gonna go I'll go right above A Memoir Blue. It's a Souls like game, but with shooting. I People were saying, oh well, it's more Dead Space than it is, it's more Dead Space than it is Dark Souls, and that's just totally not true. And even if it is, it's just janky. It just doesn't feel right. I did not for me at all. Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. I will go right below Timesha, right above, or right below Shadow Warrior 3, right above Mario Strikers. Vertigo is really a gripping narrative. Of course, it's based on Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, but the thing with the game, like, is it's kind of this. We talked about it in the Hidden Gems video, but it's like all about this kind of revolving door of abuse, and like the suicidal, not the band, but like the suicidal tendencies of your father, and then that kind of being passed down onto you, and then dealing with that trauma, and then having the therapist intervene and sort of try to get you through your bout of vertigo with this sort of hypnosis treatment, and then uncovering like this whole conspiracy with the different town folk. And yeah, it was a really good, really dark, kind of on the nose story that I enjoyed quite a bit. The Quarry. I'm going to go A tier for The Quarry. I'm going to go right. Oh boy, this is going to land me in some hot water. Look, man, I like The Quarry more than I like God of War Ragnarok. I love Supermassive, and this is the first time that Supermassive felt on that Until Dawn level to me, and I get it. If this didn't land for you, if these style of games don't land for you, I really appreciate and value these narrative choose your own adventure games, and the ones that do what they're supposed to do and don't linger on the unnecessary too long are the best style of these games, in my opinion. Allow me to make the decisions, allow me to see the story unfold. Don't linger around too long with a bunch of unneeded content. Give me the substantial, meaty moments. Allow me to, make the decisions to impact these characters' lives. And the thing about the Corey with the characters is that it felt like a fly on the wall, this game, where you feel like these characters have already built up a rapport with one another. They know each other so well, and you're just kind of getting to experience life with them. This is the best character design and the best interaction between characters that Supermassive has ever done, in my opinion. It's really, really, really good, and I was totally invested into all of these different characters and seeing the journey play out. I played through the game two times fully, three times I played two times from freaking start to end, and then played through it a third time from like the middle way point on to the end, and just yeah, I was totally hooked by the damn Corey. So yeah, man, I would I'd have to go top of the A tier. No disrespect to God of War Ragnarok. I really did enjoy the game, but like I said, man, I'm a big, big, big fan of Supermassive. Until Dawn would have ranked above God of War Ragnarok to me, and this is like the Corey is right below Until Dawn, in my opinion. It's right there on that same level of quality. Obviously, with 2K being behind it and publishing it, and I'm sure funding the shit out of it, they were able to really lean into that motion capture. The characters look way better than almost anything else on the market, and which is to be expected from this style of game, but it's something else. Midnight Suns. Midnight Suns. Let's look at this list here. What we got? Where's Midnight Suns going to slot in? Put about 12 hours into Midnight Suns. It's one I would like to play a lot more. I was totally hooked by the story. I love being in the Abbey. Like it just came out recently, so I haven't had a ton of time to dive into it, but I loved being in the Abbey, and fucking hanging out with Blade. Blade's trying to go and start a book club so that he can he's trying to get in with Captain Marvel, and it's got this like weird romantic like dating sim angle to it. It's not like a dating. You're not freaking out there boning the damn Marvel characters, but it does have a feeling of that because as you interact with them and you do these like hangout sessions with them, like little hearts pop up above the characters, but those hearts are used actually in a beneficial way in combat, where the more interaction you have with these characters and the closer bond you develop, the better off you are in combat as with having them as a companion, as a companion, yeah, as a companion. Jesus. But yeah, that is really cool, and I like the story a lot with Lilith and you being risen from the grave to kind of take her down and creating the character and all that. I the turn-based strategy stuff isn't my lane, but I had a lot of fun with this, and I would like to keep playing this. I will go so far for me. I'll say Midnight Suns, right below The Devil in Me, right above Ghostwire Tokyo is I think where I'd put it. Shadows of Rose, the Resident Evil 8 DLC, continuing on the Winter Saga and kind of putting a stamp on it, hopefully. I think it was okay DLC. I'll go right below WWE 2K22 in the C tier here. It wasn't a ton of content. It didn't really feel particularly satisfying, in my opinion. It definitely gave some form of closure, I guess, to the saga, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not really invested in Rose or Ethan, and I'm just kind of ready to move on. So it was like I was playing through it to just get it over with and then move on to new characters because I don't have any investment in the Winters family. But there are cool like little nightmares esque sequences. There's a few of those that are really cool and memorable. So those moments alone would propel it to the C tier, and just being able to play in third person. And Jesus Christ, I really butchered the image there for Roller Drome, but we have Roller Drome. This is definitely this is maybe definitively I would say the most underrated game of 2022 that I've played. This is an A tier game. It's undeniably an A tier game. I think I'd put it right above As Dusk Falls. Yeah, I'd go right above As Dusk Falls for Rollerdrome. This is a the concept of it alone is probably the most unique concept that I've seen in a video game in a really really long time. Playing in this Tony Hawk roller derby Max Payne Twisted Metal blend where you're in a roller derby, you're pulling off the moves like you're Tony Hawk, but you're blasting your enemies like you're damn Max Payne and slowing down time and shit. It's just one of the coolest damn. It's one of the coolest takes and just loops to get lost in. I can't wait to see what Roll Seven can come up with next. I really really hope they continue building off the foundation of Rollerdrome. It's a remarkable game. Played through the whole thing. It's one where after you finish playing through it, you want to go back to it and try to get all the different achievements and unlockables and do everything that you can possibly do because the gameplay loop is just so addictive. Horizon Forbidden West. I would say shit. Okay. This is kind of the moment here. Oh boy. Horizon Forbidden West, it's obviously S tier. So we'll just put it there. Now here's the tough part. Okay, I'm just gonna lay it out. Horizon Forbidden West is either number one or number two. The thing with Plague Tale is that there's no story that's even close to a Plague Tale Requiem on this list, in my opinion. Nothing like really even remotely close. And Forbidden West is very reliant on its story, and the story is the one thing I didn't like about Forbidden West. However, I was totally engrossed by that world and blown away by the changes that were made to this game from Zero Dawn. Traversal is so much better, so much more fluid, has that uncharted climbing feel to it where just getting from one location to the next and platforming around feels so much more accessible and simplified and available. That's kind of the biggest thing, is that platforming in general really wasn't even available in Horizon Zero Dawn. The fact that it adds that new level of verticality as you're reaching, the fucking tops of these mountains, and that adds its own unique gameplay variety. Not to mention the underwater sections in this game. You totally add this new mechanic of swimming around underwater and finding these caves and these unknown locations and running into like an abandoned tribe and helping them out. And the melee combat is a much more viable option than the first game. The stealth is so much better in Forbidden West than Zero Dawn. It's just a game that, like, it does everything that a sequel should do and then some. It's such a significant improvement over the first game in every regard other than the story. And that's the thing that I struggle with here, because of Plague Tale Requiem, it is one of the most captivating, memorable stories that I've ever experienced in my life. And but man, those moments in Forbidden West are so fucking memorable. You know, spoilers here a little bit, but we ain't even got to go into it. Let's just say, well, I mean, if you saw the trailer for the DLC, you'll see it, and then just skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to be spoiled. But the moment where you unlock the ability to get, you get the flying mount, and it totally changes everything from that point on about how you move around this open world and how you traverse this open world where you can just fly and overlook the entire all those vistas, this entire landscape that was laid out for you. You're overlooking it with your flying mount as you're just hovering above the open world. It's a magical moment. And unlocking that ability for the first time, being able to do that and see that for the first time is really, really memorable, man. It's one of those like gameplay moments that I'll never forget. I'll never forget seeing, just overlooking everything while I'm flying around, and it, not to even talk about the visuals alone, like this is getting a little bit spoilers here, but let's just say reigniting light into a once vibrant city in Forbidden West is like one of those all-time moments, man. It's so memorable. And uh, like the attention to detail when crafting these characters, and you know the side characters, how they're equally as put in, like an equal amount of detail is put into crafting those side characters that you may interact with for only 10-15 minutes in an entire game, as it's an equal amount of detail for them as like some of the main characters that you interact with for 10-15 hours. The facial animations and the motion capture is so good, and you just have some of the best looking game characters ever. And it's like a thing too where I'm sitting here and I'm like, do I knock a game, and do I knock this game's story for just not being for me? Because I think that's almost more what it was than anything else. Like it wasn't that I think it was a bad twist. It was just one where I was like, man, I kind of liked the more subdued, the more intimate nature of coming to terms with this information that only you as Aloy have been given. And then, like, not to spoil anything, but we're going to a totally new direction with the third game, and it's even kind of genre shifting. And I don't know if I'm on board for that, but we'll see. We'll see how it lands. It was just a twist that maybe wasn't for me, but when I think about the 50 hours, and I probably put about 25 hours into A Plague Tale Requiem, I put 50 hours into Forbidden West. The only thing I have a slight complaint with was the story. Like literally everything else I like more about Forbidden West than I do A Plague Tale Requiem. And yeah, yeah. I gotta go. I gotta go Forbidden West over A Plague Tale Requiem. So let's see. Let's look down here at the rest of the games. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and I accidentally duplicated Lego Star Wars and Weird West for whatever fucking reason there. But we'll go ahead and crown that now. Horizon Forbidden West is my game of the year for 2022. Let's not delay the inevitable here. Maybe it would have been nice to put that last, but I'm not going in here and trying to set this up to be laid out perfectly. Just kind of doing it on the fly as Tier Maker has generated it for me here. But Cult of the Lamb, go ahead and run through this fairly quickly. We're already running extremely long here. Throat's a little bit hoarse. Cult of the Lamb, we'll go right above. We'll go above Oxide Room 10. We'll go above Ghostwire Tokyo, actually. This was I had fun with this. Once again, talking about the chant, the little cult simulator aspect of it. And with Cult of the Lamb, it's a lot more of that, with like the base building and having to manage your cult. You're actually the cult leader. You're not trying to escape the cult. You're uh, ringing the different members up and having everybody with their jobs assigned, and then it's this roguelike sort of adventure with the actual gameplay, which is, it's fun, it's cute. Chernobylite, this I believe came out in 2021 actually, but it released on the PlayStation 5 in 2022. Played it for the first time in 2022. I'm going to go I'm actually going to go right above Oxide Room 104 on this one as well, right below Ghostwire Tokyo. Chernobylite, I put about freaking 14, 13 hours into Chernobylite, and I'm not done with it yet. It's a big ass game. And similar with the simulation aspect, there's a lot of semi mechanics with Chernobylite here where you have like this startup base, and you're building onto this startup base. You're going out into the world, and it's like got the first person shooter elements, and the shooting's pretty decent, but it's also got very stealthy elements to the gameplay. I believe it's running on Unreal Engine 4, if I'm not mistaken. So it's photorealistic, beautiful, beautiful visuals. And you even get like little dialogue decisions that you're getting to make and shit. But yeah, it's got like this base building that you're setting up and different characters that come to your base, and you go off and you send them on little tasks to like retrieve ammunition or retrieve food and bring back to your base. And then you have the crafting and the upgrading, and like it's a very, very in-depth game. And if you're looking for, like, if you like your State of Decay style games, but you want something a little bit more realistic looking, um Chernobylite, definitely want to check out. Obviously, kind of like an alternate take on the Chernobyl timeline there, but it's a cool ass game. It's one I would highly recommend to anybody out there who's into like semi kind of base management stuff, along with some first person shooter stealth stuff with a more realistic, tone and approach. Cool ass game for sure. So that is my list for the games of 2022 that I have played, the games that came out in 2022 that I used to keep a big ass list of all the games that I played, but somewhere along the line, I forgot to keep updating it. So I just went back to Game Informer, went to January through December, wrote down everything that I played. I hope I didn't miss anything here. I'm sure I fucking somehow did, but these are my games of 2022 that I played in order. Number 1, Horizon Forbidden West. Number 2, A Plague Tale Requiem. 3, Evil West. 4, Sifu. 5, The Quarry. 6, God of War Ragnarok. 7, Rollerdrome. 8, As Dusk Falls. 9, Immortality. 10, Dying Light 2. 11, Norco. 12, High on Life. 13, Signalis. 14, Cyberpunk 2077. 15, Bayonetta 3. 16, Lego Star Wars. 16, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. 17, Midnight Fight Express. 18, Callisto Protocol. 19, NBA 2K22. 20, The Chant. 21, WWE 2K22. 22, Shadows of Rose. 23, Proteus. 24, Stray. 25, Devil in Me. 26, Midnight Suns. 27, Cult of the Lamb. 28, Ghostwire Tokyo. 29, Chernobylite. 30, Oxide Room 104. 31, Nobody Saves the World. 32, Shredder's Revenge. 33, Tamisha. 34, Shadow Warrior 3. 35, Vertigo. 36, Mario Strikers. 37, Neon White. 38, Little Orpheus. 39, Saints Row. 40, Gotham Knights. 41, Elix 2. 42, Metal Hellsinger. 43, New Tales from the Borderlands. 44, Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion. 45, Trek to Yomi. 46, Gungrave Gore. 47, Weird West. 48, Valkyrie Elysium. 49, Dolmen. 50, A Memoir Blue. 51, Vampire Swan Song. 51 or 52, Somerville. I may have fucked up the counting there a little bit, but you kind of get the point. Those are the top 52 or so, how many ever the hell that is there. Those are my top 50 or so games of 2022. So I appreciate you all for tuning in and listening to this long ass ramble. If you made it to the end, shout out to you. You are a real one. So yeah, overall, look, it's not the greatest of the great years with your 2018s and 17s and 2010s and 2007, 2004. Like it's not up there with the greatest of the all times, but it's I think this was a really good year overall for games, at least for the games that I like. And 2023 is looking to be a fine year as well. I am very, very damn pumped to dive into 2023. And I feel like the end of the year list we'll be talking about in 2023. If I'm still here on the YouTubes, that'll be something else. That'll be a big, big juggernaut of a ranking list to go over at that point with a lot heavier hitters, I would say, across the board. So, but yeah, man, a lot of stuff here that I really did enjoy playing. So I'm pumped to kick off the new year. I have some predictions videos that I'm lining up for 2023. I might just do like one big predictions extravaganza for 2023. Let's go ahead and stop the share here as we ramble on. But yeah, I I'm pumped for the new year, pumped to get out some fun content, and I appreciate all of you good people for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the new year. Hope your holidays went well. Hope your new year and all that shit went over well. Had some good time to eat some good food, hang out with some family, whatever it is that you do for your holiday season. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, man, take it easy, you guys. Hope to see you soon. Hit me up in the comments. Tell me if you think I'm an idiot for ranking something lower than you would rank it. And yeah, try to keep in mind that we're all individual people and we have different opinions, and there's nothing wrong with having different opinions. I appreciate you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.